So what the fuck really makes you you? You know what I mean? Like, yes, the people you hang out with obviously is important. Like, don't hang out with complete scrubs because then you're gonna get influenced to just do stupid stuff. Like if somebody you're hanging out with or somebody that you're doing business with or in life in a relationship whatever they're doing something, you're going to have a pretty big inkling in your mind like should I also be doing that? Because that's how life works. Like everybody, I mean we try not to, but people do compare themselves to like what they think what they should or should not be doing. And you can argue whether or not that's what you should be doing, but it just happens. So if you're surrounded or you put yourself around people who do dumbass shit, then you're going to be in that same situation. Most likely you're going to be thinking, should I be doing dumbass shit? So it's like, I think as you get older, you really value your personal time and your personal space. And you start to really think like, wow, I cannot be interacting with just some I can't be around that. Like it's just gonna sabotage my whole energy. It's gonna mess up everything that I got going on if I try and get around that. But at the same time, it's like you don't want to be lonely. You don't want to just sit by yourself every day and have nothing to do. So it's like you do want to have friends, but it's hard to find good friends. It's hard to find somebody who's actually like worthwhile, is into what you're doing, sees your vision. Like most people aren't gonna see your vision. They're not going to see exactly what you see, what you want to do, or even have your best intentions in mind because people have their own stuff they're worried about. So, like, when you really come into contact, you get into a situation where multiple people have, like, a similar mindset, that's a sacred moment. It really is because in life, everyone's on their own mind, they're on their own time, they're doing their own stuff. So if you can get multiple people aligned, it's so powerful. It's so powerful. And attention is one thing, right? Like people will look at stuff, they'll look at things, they'll listen, they'll window shop, but they're not necessarily going to believe in it. They'll subscribe and they'll pay a little mind, but to actually believe in something and have faith that something's going to work is totally different. And that's really powerful because it's like when you actually do have that, you're going to like sacrifice other stuff in your life to make it a reality. You know, like when times get hard or when stuff is actually difficult, what are you going to give up? What's going to be the first stuff that you're like, nah, I don't need that? It'll probably be, you know, the frivolous stuff, the stuff that you don't really believe in deeply, that you don't have a lot of faith in. You're just going to let that stuff go. So that just makes sense. It's just obvious. So it's like you gotta put yourself in a situation where it's like you can find people who think similar to how you think, which is difficult. Oh my goodness, that was such an upset. That was such an upset. Oh my goodness.
That just happened.
So that kind of reminds me. In life, when you do something, usually how it goes is like at the 50% mark, you get nothing. At the 75% mark, you also get nothing. At the 99% mark, you kind of get nothing. But at the 100% mark, you get everything. You get more than you could believe. Yes, I did see that. It was literally one tick. And he was going to die from the poison anyways. Mm-hmm. But you died.
I brought
he killed
Papo out.
Yeah.
And he just got one-shotted. He didn't even get a chance to do anything.
Oh, because he has fire. He burned him.
Yeah.
That's crazy. We're playing Monster Sanctuary. It's actually a really great game. Like if you like old school Pokemon or Digimon, it's like a Monster Rancher. It's like a monster taming game with like platformer. It's good. It's good. But yeah, so like if you get to the 50% mark, you get to the 75, 99, you don't get anything. There's no reward for that. You know, you have to get to the 100% mark and fully complete everything, and then you can really sit back and enjoy the rewards. Halfway is not cutting it. I mean, it never cut it, but right now there's just too much competition in anything you're doing. Like, if you're not trying to go 100% all the way, you're going to struggle because everyone's going to be competing for that same part, that same whatever. You're going to have to literally just think in the very beginning, how am I, you got to think end game. Like, when you do anything, what is the end goal? What am I trying to get to? Otherwise, you're just going to 360 tailspin and you don't have any idea what you're doing. You have no idea what's going on. You got to put your mind on something, like a goal, yes, but even like deeper than just one goal, like really visualize what you want it to look like. Because if you just sit there and complain and worry about it and cry and stress out, really it changes nothing. Like, you have to, in your mind, visualize, what do I want? How do I want it to look? What would I feel like? What would I have to do? What would I sacrifice to get there? And if you can visualize that in your mind and move toward that goal, then really anything is attainable. Then you just got to chill out because it's not going to happen tomorrow. That's my problem. That's what I realized is, like, I'm very impatient. So I want things to happen very quickly. Like, if I have a good idea or if I have something like that, I just, tomorrow I want it to happen. And that's not the way the world works. That's not the way life works in general. Like, everything takes way longer than you think for it to come into fruition. So it's going to be a very, very slow process. And actually, the slower the process, sometimes the more consistent it is and the more longevity it is, because it was built on such a strong foundation. It took so much time that it's resting on that time. The power of time is very strong. So you got to definitely think end game. Like, what am I trying to achieve? What would I like to do? Where would I like to go? What are the things that I want to, get in the state of mind to accomplish? You gotta first definitely see it, really see it, because you're gonna encounter hardship. You're gonna encounter a whole bunch of beating your head against the wall. So before you even get to that point to where you're like, okay, I give up. If you know in the beginning, I'm going to do this, then it's already set. You're ready to go. You're ready to go, and it's easy to forget that. It's easy to say that on day one, and then day two you forget that. And that's kind of what happens to me with the impatient thing, is like, because you want it so quickly.
Don't watch right now.
Because you want it so quickly, you don't. There's no foundation built up, so your emotions can swing too quickly. You need it to take as much time as it needs to. It's like a plant that's growing. Your ideas are like plants, and you got to keep nurturing them. They're like, one day, that's not enough. 2 days, that's not enough. Like, think how long it takes. It takes months, even for a simple plant to grow. Like a tree takes years and years and years. So like an idea, like a powerful thought, it takes years and years and years, and it can die in year 3, and you gotta start all over again. You gotta start that thought process, that thinking process all over again, because maybe you worked up the energy to accomplish something. Like, you put yourself in the position and something terrible happened. You got robbed, or like you failed, you just did it in the wrong way, whatever. Now you have to restart. It's going to take a ton of energy again to restart that process. So it's like, you really got to think in the beginning, what do I like to do? Because it's like, you're going to encounter failure. If you really like it and you enjoy it, the failure will almost be fun because you're just figuring it out. Like, think about like a game you like, or anything you like to do. If you mess up, I mean, you just accept that's part of it. It's like, oh, okay. That's almost like half the fun is like losing. If you won every time, you'd just be like, oh, I'm the best. I want to do something else. If you lost every time, you'd assume you're the worst and you suck. So if you're winning and you're losing and you're enjoying yourself, then you're on the right track, because you're moving in tandem with your own emotions. That's another crazy thing, is that you can have the exact right thought. You can have the perfect idea, but your emotions can completely upend that idea. So even if you're thinking correctly, doing you have it logically set out, if you can't pull the trigger, or you can't move forward, or you self-sabotage yourself, then all the fact that you've done all this research, or the fact that you're right is kind of meaningless because you're not going to be able to actually realize that in reality. You're going to be your own worst enemy. So it's like you got to really manage your emotions too, because if you're doing really well or things are going really well, um, your emotions are going to be excited. You're going to be really, really up. And so you're going to be a little bit not focusing on the little minute stuff. When you're freaking out, when you're stressed out, you start really paying attention to small stuff because you got to conserve everything. You can't afford to lose anything. So you go back to basics, you go back to small stuff. But whenever you do find some kind of success, you really, I mean, some people are able to be very grateful, but what often happens is that you just get caught up with everything that's going on, and now you become preoccupied, and so mistakes can fester and build up because you're so occupied with other stuff. So you got to keep yourself in check and come back and be like, wait a second, like, is there really a better way to do this? Like, am I really, like, because you've reached a level, like, it was hard to get to where you're at, but you do have to, like, sit back and be like, is there something more I can do now? Like, if I reached a point, am I good, like, where I'm at, and now I can, like, look for something else? And that looking process, that may take a long time. You know, it's not going to take a week or a month. It may take years for you to find the next step. But as long as your mind is open to that next step and you save your resources, when the next step comes, you're going to be able to fully capitalize on it. And that's another thing about life is that it's not just like straight up, it's not straight down. There's windows of opportunity. And so you have to save your resources, you have to save your energy for when that good opportunity comes so that you're ready and you can really capitalize on the opportunity, because that's, to me, that's my opinion, that's what life is. Life is not like working really hard making a ton of money. It's not like not doing anything making no money, right, or whatever. It's just leveraging the least amount of time to get the most amount of stuff, or most amount of anything, whatever you want, because you only have so much time. You have 24 hours, I have 24 hours. It doesn't matter who you are, what you do, you have the same amount of time. The only way to really leverage that is the actions you do in life. So if you can find out how to get what you want by putting very little in, then you've achieved a cheat code, right? Because what makes you stressed out is when you put a ton of effort in, all this energy, you do all this focus, and you get very little back, right? But if you barely lift a finger, but you really get not just material possessions, but things of substance, like actual, like real energy, right? Like, it's not that you don't put in anything. It's just that you can do little and have a lot, like, harmoniously created, because you've set up all of these systems that are rewarding you because you're rewarding them. It's like a mutual exchange thing. It could look like anything. It could be a farm. It could be like in an apartment downtown. It could be single with a family. Like, it doesn't matter what your goal is, but if you find happiness and success in that, and you barely really do anything, and you're just getting all this stuff, you're winning. You're winning because you don't have to compare yourself to anybody else. You're getting what you want, and you're satisfied. Like, does a duck like want to go like go hunt like a wolf and like eat other animals? No, it just wants to be in the pond. Like, does a lion like want to go like dig holes like a mole and be in the dirt? No. But if you put a mole in the dirt, it would be like, this is the best thing ever. So it's just, you got to find out who you are, what you really enjoy, and then just be happy with that, because that's what you like. Of course you're going to think like, oh, could I do some other shit? Like, could I do this? Your brain's always going to do that. You have to find like peace with that voice and realize that that's just a voice. That's not just like your internal mind. That's not like everything you should be doing, question everything. Like, you're always going to have like this psychological want to think about what if. But just, you also have to like look at what you've achieved and be grateful for the system that you are in. It's okay to question the system, but don't just sacrifice what you've done or the energy you put in just in an instant. But you do need to reassess at times and be like, how can I improve this? And sometimes you find out that you're just going not down like the wrong road, but you're like in a cul-de-sac. Like, you're just kind of like in a loop. Like, you're still putting energy in, but it's just looping. Like, nothing's really happening. Sometimes that's okay because you have to know when to be patient. But I think the trick is that when you're being patient, if you're not getting these good signs, like you're getting no feedback, then that's probably not the right thing. Because anything that's good, like let's say you want to get to 100, you got to get to 90 first, and then you got to get to 50 and 20, you know what I mean? Like going up. So it's like, in order for something to get to 100 or 1,000, it's got to get to 10. So along the way, you're going to hit 10, 20, 30. You're going to get these goalposts that are like, oh, okay, we're moving in the right direction here. You know what I mean? I'm getting this feedback that's telling me yes, yes, yes. If you start doing stuff and then life is just telling you no, 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 and you keep doing it, you're going to get screwed. Because it's like life is literally telling you this is not working. You can't just read every little thing and blow it up and be like, oh, okay, well, it's not working, I give up. Like, you got to take a little bit of time and look objectively and not just let your emotions get out of control and really analyze it objectively and be like, yes, this is good for me, or no, it's not. And it takes time to realize that. So you can't get all pissed off, if stuff doesn't work out immediately, because it's not. Unless you get really lucky, and then that's almost like a curse. But like when you invest time and energy into something, you got to just assume it's going to take some time. It's going to take some time to get there, and you got to clear your mind. That's like one of the most ultimate skills, is to just be able to clear your mind and go into like a meditative state and just accept what you're doing. Because you can be your own worst enemy. Again, you can have all the right answers, but if you can't execute and you can't do what you need to do in the moment quickly, then it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that you have the right answers. You have to be able to bring them into reality. And that's what most people struggle with. Most people are very good at analyzing and thinking about what would be the right answer, and very poor at actually doing the right answer all the time. Almost the opposite of animals, right? Like, animals are really good at executing what they need to do. They do it all the time, every day, regardless of what happens. That's what they have to do, and they know it. But they're not the best at analyzing and how to like adapt out of their situation. They just have instinct. So if people could harness that instinct, that primal instinct, to really like think about what they need and just go through it like an animal. Like, just go through it like you are just going to do that. There's no other option. You basically die if you don't do that, right? You're like, just imagine like a bird that can't get berries or something. It's dead. It's over, right? Like, that's how you got to think about it. It is completely linked to your survival. But in the same way, if a bird goes out for berries and it doesn't find it the first day, it doesn't get on Facebook and TikTok and complain and be like, oh my God, I got no berries. Like, this is literally everyone else's fault, like race bait. You know what I mean? The bird's not doing that. It's going to go and try and try and try. And if it starves, well, then it's accepted that it's going to starve. And even then, it will probably start eating its nest or something. You know what I mean? Like, it's just not going to accept that. But people will accept it. Like, if they were a bird and they didn't find berries the first day, they would just die on the ground. They just lay down and die. Or if some other bird was like, hey man, I'll give you like half a berry, just like build my nest, they'd be like, okay. But a regular bird or like a regular animal would not accept that. It'd be like, I know what I need to do. Right? I'm not going to settle for less or do like this weird exchange and try and get something that is kind of what I need. No, I'm going to get what I need for what I need to do. That's what you should be doing. And don't sweat it if it takes way longer than you thought, because it doesn't matter.
Okay, and sorry, but
It's going to take